Hey everyone, it's Marabelle Blue here with another KEM Top Talk reality TV short. Now, I know it's been a while because I was actually doing two shows. One, Sin City Rules, and the other one, The Bachelor with Sean Lowe. Now, I'll be doing Sin City Rules in a couple of days since unfortunately the show was canceled. But Lana Fuchs has been updating us with the things that she's been doing with her business. So back to The Bachelor. I will be putting two episodes together. I'm going to try and make it in less than 20 minutes. So bear with me. And I apologize for having to put two episodes together. But I guess in some way it helps out because the episode number 2, which aired on the 14th of January, really wasn't all that dramatic like you expect all other bachelors to be. Um, so clearly in this episode, Tiara is becoming the crazed girl of the show. But unbeknownst to everybody else, so is Amanda. Now, I'm looking at the shows and I'm thinking to myself, that even though this is very dramatic and stupid at the same time to find somebody to fall in love with, um, I can only imagine the stress that these girls are feeling as a result of being on this show and like vying for one man. We all know that in the real world, there are a ton of guys that, girls can pick up and meet. And if you're out at a club, there's just a variety of men. Unfortunately, in this situation, there aren't a variety of men. There's one man, and, there's a bunch of women. And I think sometimes for certain ladies, they just can't deal with it and they either shut down or become over the top, very dramatic. Anyway, um, so Sean had a two one-on-one dates and he had a group date. His first date was with Sarah. Now, if you're watching the show, Sarah was born with a quote unquote disability. And I say that because she really isn't disabled as far as I'm concerned, but she had a problem where she was born with one arm and she did not let that stop her from being who she is. And I think it's a beautiful thing. And that's why I use the word disability very loosely because she is capable of doing almost whatever it is that she wants. So she had the first date with with Sean. I almost forgot his name. And they flew on a helicopter and they flew over Los Angeles and they landed on this building, which of course, here we go again with the putting on the whole gamut suit to jump off a freaking building. Now, I don't understand the producers of The Bachelor or why this is so relevant. Here I go with that word again, relevant, of jumping off cliffs and buildings to prove some kind of trust, I guess. Um, in real life, I would not jump off a building with a man to show my faith or trust in him. He's gonna have to work really fucking hard. And I'm not gonna be jumping off a building for anybody. Sorry. I'm just not made that way. But they did. And they did really well. Now here's another thing that I made my in my notes. I've noticed that when dates happen like early on in the beginning with somebody jumping off a building with them, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've never seen that relationship go on to like the four top people. Well, maybe the four, but for some reason that's not the person that they land with at the end. Maybe Ashley and JP, I'm not sure, but it's just very stupid. And that's a really big risk. But like I said, they did it. They had dinner. It was very nice. It was very romantic. And and that's that. So yeah, so all of these free fall dates. So when of course, when they're like on their dinner date, like after they jump off whatever and they're out on their dinner, Sarah begins to disclose about her and her father going to Las Vegas, and she wanted to do some zip lining thing. And after they had put her in, somebody had came in and said, oh, you know, she can't do it because she's disabled. And she was really hurt about that. I really hate stories like this because it doesn't showcase a person's strength. For me, it doesn't. It's kind of like they have this sad music playing in the background. Um, why are we sad about that? You know, it was an experience that she had, and we all had horrible experiences. And how did she overcome it? It's almost as if like she was a charity case. And I certainly don't view her like that because she has one arm. So thumbs down to ABC for just like making it like that story was a really horrible thing that happened. But she did share that with Sean, and you know, they kiss at the end of the date. I realized in this episode Sean was sticking his tongue in a lot of women in this episode. And I don't know about anybody else, but I would feel really funny kissing a man knowing that his tongue was in like 3 or 4 of the women before mine. This is why I couldn't be on this show. If I was going to do a show, I would do it as real as like here in New York. And I'm not even going to disclose the idea because then somebody will go and take it and act like it's theirs, because Lord knows there isn't a lot of originality when it comes to people. So on the group date, it was a Harlequin theme, and it was a photo shoot, and they basically had to get all dressed up to do like a cover for one of these books. So on the group date, for some reason, and I'm not sure why this was, originally there were 12 women mentioned. Christy, Amanda, Brooke, Leslie M., Daniela, Catherine, Robin, Katie, Selma, Diane, Taryn, and Tiara. Casey was not mentioned in this group date, but then the next day when they're showing everybody going on the date, Casey is part of the group. So you know, they go on the group date, they do the photo shoot, everybody's getting jealous because if the photographer suggests, you know, kiss or whatever, everybody's like looking. I forget who it was that had, I remember her face, but I cannot remember her name right now. I know it wasn't Katie. Katie was the model, and she was like, oh, excited, I'm a model, so this is my thing, blah, 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 blah. Well, you know, good for you. It was like she was so excited that this was her thing. I don't know. Was there like a hidden prize that I didn't know about, other than whoever won, they would use them for the cover, but somebody else made a note. It's like, yeah, you won the cover, but did you win the man in the process? No. So during the group date, Robin complains about Tiara because Tiara is very, you know, out there, and you know, let's just get rid of these girls because there's always has to be that one woman that's saying it's all about me. And the only other woman that I know that was outrageous as Tiara was in Ben's episode when he picked the craziest girl who just happened to be a model, and now they're not together. But I'm sure he had good sex in the process, so good for you, Ben. Let's hope, right, that it wasn't like for nothing. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's a pretty horrible thing. So in the towards the end of the photo shoot, you know, they all go together like back to the house or whatever, and they have like a pool party and shit. And that's when the chatting begins, because of course they start robbing. Can I have time with him? Can I have time? I mean, it's like, it's so stupid, but then at the same time you can understand the level of why these women are like pulling this man in every direction just to get time and talk with him. So I wrote Leslie first. Sean asked her, why is she here truthfully? Um, and I said, they don't kiss because they're stupid. So, okay, Leslie, she was the one. So, Leslie and Sean are sitting down and they're talking, and it becomes like this really awkward thing. And instead of leaning over and giving him a kiss, she's like, oh, you know, I'm a Southern girl. I wait for the guy to make the first move, blah, 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 blah. Okay, honey, it's 2013. If I want to kiss a guy, I'm going to kiss him. I'm not going to wait for him to make the first move. As romantic as that may be, there are times that you just have to dive in there and give the man a kiss. There's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't make you less of a woman. It certainly doesn't make you a hoe. It just means that, you know, you're making your point. You're into him and you want to kiss him, and there's nothing wrong with that. Okay. So, she does it afterwards, and it's like very, very stupid because I think he was like with somebody or like walking away, and she's like, I want to talk to you, and then like she does it and it just took away the whole romantic moment. It's like it should have happened while you had the moment. It's like the moment was surpassed and the kiss really didn't mean anything. That's just my own personal opinion. Anybody else could have seen it differently, and that's okay. Now, Sean has a conversation with KCB. And I'm so used to calling her KCB because in Ben's season, there was another Casey on the show. And it's weird because they met before, and, you know, she says that she had a crush on him and stuff like that. My whole thing is like, why didn't you say anything before he came on this show? It's almost as if, you know, if he was really into her, I think they would have hooked up. Something would have happened and he wouldn't have been on the show. I mean, for me, it's just like that. Like, if he was into her, he wouldn't have been on the show. But he wasn't. I mean, he was approached and he thought about it. And like I said, you know, this whole Bachelor, Bachelorette, they're all like a little crew. They all hang out. They all have parties. They all get together. They all know one another. They're like their own society. So I think that, you know, if he was into her, it would have been done and he wouldn't have to like think about it. You know, the producers approached him, he thought about it, and then he said yeah. So clearly he didn't look at Casey that way other than a friend. And I'm going a little bit ahead because I already had seen the episode, you know, thereafter. So okay, so then he starts talking with Catherine, and she's talking about being a vegan and blah, 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 blah. You know, some women talk about how difficult group dates are. And then Sean takes Tiara aside and, you know, because she had looked like bothered. She had like an attitude. This is what I understand. Like, men are very, very strange. They don't like women to be angry, but then when it comes to scenarios like this, and I don't know if this happens in real life, but I don't understand why they bother with a woman that's so negative and so blah. I really don't understand that. I'm watching Vanderpump Rules, and it's like the same thing. You have this crazy, out of her mind chick, you know, and the guy is like, oh, I'm so in love with you. And it's like, but she's fucking crazy. And like, what do you see in that other than her body? I don't get that. I'm very, very perplexed by that. And I have to plug in my laptop because I don't want it to die out while I'm in the middle of talking. So, okay. So anyway, like I said, this episode wasn't impressive, but on the group date, Casey gets the rose. So she's safe for this episode. And also Sarah got the rose on his one-on-one date. I forgot to mention that. And Tiara was very upset that Casey got the rose. But okay, so that's that. Now, now we have the next one-on-one date. on the same episode, episode number 2, Desiree, he plays a prank on Desiree, which I thought was pretty cute and funny. They make up this gallery, and he leaves her in a room with a supposed $1.5 million piece of art, and she sits down, and they set it up so that it knocks down, and the artist comes in like, what did you do, you broke it, blah blah blah. And him and Chris Harrison are in another room watching, and they're hysterical laughing. And then finally the jig is up, and Sean goes in there and says, he played a joke on her, whatever. Because his whole point is that he's trying to find a friend in his mate, somebody that's going to laugh. Because clearly Sean is a practical joker. He did the same thing when in the Ashley season he had pretended that he was still living at home, and then he brought her to his bedroom, and it was like a complete mess. I even fell for it. It's like, oh my god, like this guy looks so nice on the outside, and you go into his room and it's like it's a fucking mess, like crackers and crumbs, and his bed is not made. I mean, all of those things become very, very important. I'm sure that any man out there can meet a woman and be really impressed by her, and then go to her apartment, and then her apartment is a complete mess. That is not really impressive. While we're sometimes not very neat, and then you have some that are very overly obsessive and neat, and everything has to be in a certain place and whatever, and I really commend those people because I wish I was like that. There really is an impression to be made when you're bringing somebody to your home. So he is a practical joker. And they had a good date. I don't know, I'm not really feeling this girl. She's kind of I have nothing bad to say about her, but she just kind of like blends in. It's kind of like you see somebody in the street and you kind of pass by and then forget what they look like after they walk by you. So now he gives her a rose suit. So now 3 women are safe for the next rose ceremony. For the cocktail party, he begins talking to Robin. Now, if you didn't notice, in this season of The Bachelor, there were some black women that were on this show. And if you all know in past Bachelor histories, there have been maybe 1 or 2 black women, and they'll either not make it past the very first show, or be on one episode and then not make it there afterwards. So Sean made a comment because he was having a conversation with Robin, and she did want to know like where he was at and what kind of women did he like. And Sean was very blunt and said, his thing is not color on the outside, it's what the person is like on the inside. And he made a mention that his last girlfriend was black. And he's been out with Latin women. He said Hispanic. I don't know. Does that sound right? Anyway, he's been out with Latin women, black women, Persian women. So clearly there isn't a color issue with Sean, which is a good thing. He just looks for the beauty in women. And as a matter of fact, tonight's episode, it looks like he's going to kiss Robin because she gives him a piece of chocolate and she asks him, which chocolate would he prefer? So they do kiss. I don't think that she's really that attractive. There's another woman, she's a poker player. Her name is Leslie H. Very attractive black woman. And he was saying all of these gorgeous things about her when they go on their one-on-one date. So it's kind of cool because he's going out with these women on the group date. But I'm starting to notice, I think that men do the process of elimination by going out with them on a one-on-one date. Even though they're getting roses, I think they're really watching the women that's going out on the group date and watching how they interact with other women and how they carry themselves. And I think that men do that in real life, because the fact of the matter is that men do not like jealous women, just like women don't like jealous men. So when a woman is over the top and insecure and jealous and arguing with the guy, who is that? Who is that? Who's on the phone? That becomes like really annoying. Quite honestly, in the business that I'm in, I don't want men questioning me about what I'm doing with other men and who am I talking to other men and why am I talking to them. I have to talk to other men because it's part of my interaction on a daily basis. Some of my writers are men. Most of the interviews I do, well, other than with men, not most, I shouldn't say most, but I should just say that some of the interviews I have are with men. So I interact with people on a daily basis, and I can't be with somebody who's going to be insecure. And I just think that it's really an ugly thing, you know. So he does tell Robin that he really does like women of all skin colors, and it doesn't matter to him. He doesn't have a criteria. And this is when Amanda's fate comes into play, because she's sitting there. She's not really being conversational with anyone. She just has this really angry face. But the minute like he calls out her name, her whole face lights up like, ah, you know. So like, I don't know. But to end this very boring episode of The Bachelor with Sean Lowe, the final roses were given out to Ashley, Lindsay. She was the one that came in with the wedding dress in the first episode. Robin, Jackie, and he didn't have a date with Jackie, so she was one woman that he didn't have a date with. Leslie M, Selma, Catherine, Christy the model that was going crazy in the Harlequin thing, Leslie H, Tiara, obviously, Tyron, she's the older, I shouldn't say older, she's the mature woman in the group, Daniela and Crazy Amanda. And the women who already had roses were Sarah, KCB, and Desiree. I forgot this very important note. During the group date, Katie, she did participate in the photo shoot, but somewhere along the evening, she didn't feel that the environment was conducive for her well-being. And she told Sean that she wasn't feeling comfortable in the environment and that she felt better going home. So she left. Diana, I think she had two daughters. As she was leaving, he had whispered in her ear he didn't want to keep her away from her girls by just leading her on. So clearly he just wasn't into her at all, and it didn't make any sense for him. I mean, he's right. Why give her a rose and just, you know, keep leading her on and getting to know her when nothing was going to happen? And here are my dogs barking. So the next episode, sometimes I have to like stop. I'm going to stop the video because then I'm going to go on into the next episode. Or maybe not. Maybe they stop barking. Okay, be quiet. Stop it. Ladies, stop. I don't want to hear it. So now the next episode, episode 3, aired on the 21st of January. There's 16 women left. Okay, so he has 2 one-on-one dates and a group date. The first date was with Leslie M, and they go to this Guinness Book, like museum kind of a thing. And they went there, unbeknownst to her, to break a world's record of the longest kiss. Now, I don't understand this kiss. They were just like there. Their lips were attached to each other. It wasn't like a real kiss. Like there was no tongue involved or anything like that. I mean, I'm expecting like this long, passionate kiss, but let me correct myself and say it had to be the longest on-screen kiss. Now, from what I gather, I think when the whole AIDS epidemic happened, they had put this ban on not, you know, having your tongue in the other actor's mouth. So they don't do that anymore. If anybody looks at any of the soap operas that are left, you realize that nobody kisses with their tongue. They just kiss with their lips, and there's no saliva exchange. And I think that was the point of the kiss. Whatever. Moving on. She got a rose at the end. And they broke the record. Woohoo! Okay. Moving on. Now the group date. Okay. The group date consists of KCB, Robin, Leslie H, Christy the model again, Catherine, Desiree, Taryn, Amanda, Lindsay, Daniela, Jackie, and Tiara. Can you please be quiet? Lady! Sometimes my dog, she tests my patience sometimes. Okay, so the group date consisted of them at the beach. And while they were all having fun, Chris Harrison walks in and says, this is not just going to be a day at the beach where you're going to get to know each other. There is going to be some kind of volleyball game. So they had to separate themselves into teams, the red team and the blue team. Whatever team lost had to go back to the mansion. And the blue team, of course, would spend the rest of the night with him. Casey was on the blue team. Desiree and Amanda were also on the blue team. And they won. I'm just like going to cut to the chase because it doesn't make any sense for me to go through the whole thing. So at the end of the game, Lindsay, no, not Lindsay. I'm sorry. I'm getting so confused. Desiree and Amanda clearly are at odds with each other. And Casey was witnessing these two girls kind of bickering with each other while he was out talking with one of the other women. So as they're taking turns talking with Sean, Casey is like, oh, I think I'm going to tell Sean, blah, blah, blah. Now, in Bachelor history, as I've been watching this stupid ass show, sometimes when you tell somebody something about somebody else, it never, ever works in your favor. It happens in real life, people. Nobody will ever side with you. The messenger always gets shot. That's the bottom line. And she decided she was going to tell him, and she did. And the first thing that comes out of Sean's mouth is, why are you telling me this? And it wasn't a very nice way, the way he said it. I mean, clearly he was not concerned with them bickering. He's been on The Bachelor before, in the Ashley season, and she was on the Ben season. So clearly it's known that there's going to be drama behind the scenes. We all know that, okay? I think that Casey made a mistake when she opened up her big mouth like that, because she was like, oh, you know, I feel like I'm in between, blah, 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 blah. Look, she got thrown off when the rose ceremony came. He never finished talking with her because all of the women started going back and forth. You know, I need to talk to him. It's like one would sit down and another one would come out. I need to talk to him. They got like really neurotic towards the end. So he never got to finish talking to her. And when the rose ceremony came, he was standing there and he looked right at her and he said, I need to talk to her. And he pulled her outside and said, look, you know, I was really surprised. I thought I could put past and move forward, but I'm not looking you at anything else, just as a friend. It's not going to go any further than this. And that's that. So I'm glad he did it that way, and he didn't like have her, you know, waiting and waiting and waiting. Do I believe that Casey screwed herself over by mentioning? Nah, there wasn't really any sparks there. I mean, he didn't even make an attempt to kiss her. I think when, you know, like I said before, when a man is into a woman, he will really make an effort. And he really did not go past that friendship level. That whole moving 3 steps forward and then 3 steps back, like he had commented on, it was just BS. There wasn't anything there. It didn't start when he got out of the limo, and you know, it just wasn't going to happen. And that's that. And of course he kept Amanda and Desiree. I mean, it's like, you know, I don't think that he's kissed Amanda. I didn't make any notes that he did, but he has kissed Desiree. So, you know, he was going to keep her. And that's that. And that's basically what happened on the group date. Ashley, now, this is the episode where Tiara apparently fell down the stairs. Now, there are no cameras inside the house when this girl falls down the stairs. You hear this whole tumbling, and then you see her holding onto her head, holding onto her neck, and she fell on one side. The ambulance comes, they strap her in a gurney, they put this thing around her neck. She's like, no, I don't want to go, I don't want to go. She didn't go. Now, Sean was there to pick up Ashley, who's in her own dream world, la 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 la, and Sean, la 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 la, and this, la 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 la. I mean, she was just going on and on and on. And this woman just falls down the stairs, and it's like really fucked up. So, she didn't go to the hospital. She said she was fine. I think that's pretty dangerous. Who knows if she made herself fall down the stairs so that she could get attention? Who knows what's going through a woman's fucking mind? But Sean finally got to go out with Ashley. They went to Six Flags. They had a surprise because he supports this charitable organization, and he had these two girls come. They suffer with some kind of illness, and the two girls are friends, but they live in different states, and they had no idea that one had planned the other to meet for the first time. And it was very, very touching. I mean, I was a little overcome with emotion, because it's nice to see a friendship like that. And I'm getting a little verklempt, so I thought it was nice. And surprisingly, Ashley in her dreamy state was overcome with emotion as well. So she does have some kind of feelings in there. And it was a nice date. So at the cocktail party, like I said, they were all over the place. Can I talk to you? Can I have a fight? I mean, it was just like, even the women who already had roses, they wanted to talk to him again. And it's like, there has to be some kind of consideration. Like, these women have no consideration. They're treating this man like he's a piece of meat, and maybe he is, but it's like, come on, have some class, have some self-worth. It's like these women have no self-worth whatsoever. I commend the woman who is sitting there in this type of an environment, and it's good for about a minute. And then she's like, you know what? There has to be a better way to meet a man. Hey, it was nice meeting you, but I gotta go. I'm going home. And that's what this woman, Katie, did. So like I said, for the rose ceremony, he stopped. He took Casey outside. He was like, look, girl, love you as a friend. Can't go any further than that. Moving right along. He comes back, and he sent Taryn home. And he sent Christy, the model, home, which she was very in a state of shock. Now, she must have had her lips done, because her lips look completely different towards the end of this episode. They were much bigger. I don't know what that was all about. But in the rose ceremony, he kept Tiara, Leslie H., Catherine, Daniela, Robin, Selma, Sarah, Jackie, Amanda, and Desiree. Now, tonight is a whole new episode. We'll see what happens, because it looks like Leslie H. will finally get her one-on-one, and Robin will get to kiss her man, or, however, or he gets to kiss the chocolate. And we'll see what happens. Now, like I said before, I have read who he has chosen. I haven't seen the spark factor that has brought them together. Which is very, very strange, because I thought I would have seen it by now, and I don't see it. I'm not going to say who it is, because I'm not going to have ABC executives knocking on my door talking about, you spoiled it, bitch. But with that being said, I'm going to sign off, and I'll be talking about Sin City Rules in the next couple of days, because there's another episode I want to watch and combine the two episodes together. This is Marabelle Blues signing off.